The end Triassic extinction happened roughly 201 million years ago at the end of the Triassic period, which was followed by the Jurassic period. With this mass extinction event, it decimated nearly 76% of all marine and terrestrial species on the Earth. It was quite a big extinction. Many large amphibians, marine life, and land creatures were virtually wiped out, creating a new way for the dinosaurs to flourish. While the cause is up for debate, I believe the cause of this mass extinction is a giant meteor hitting the Earth, much like the one that took out the dinosaurs nearly 65 million years ago. Since we know that a meteor took out the dinosaurs many years ago, we can conclude that it is in fact possible that a meteor can cause a mass extinction. One thing to consider when looking into meteors and these such extinctions is the craters they cause, how big they are, how wide they are when they impact the Earth. The biggest crater found that could link to this mass extinction is called the Manicouagan and is located in Quebec, Canada. The diameter of this crater is measured up to be 300 kilometers wide, but we cannot be totally sure due to the erosion that has happened in the last 200 million years. Another thing to consider is when they were dated. Since it is hard to determine an exact year, this crater has been dated around about 15 million years apart at different times. It was first determined to be about 212 million years ago, and even more recently, it has been dated to around 202 million years ago, right around when this extinction happened. There are also other craters around the globe that are also thought to be a part of a multiple meteor extinction, which is when multiple meteors, not just one, help cause the extinction. One was found in France, Ukraine, and North Dakota, all around the same time period. While it is also likely that there were other reasons or influences as to why this extinction happened, including supervolcanoes or a rise in global temperatures. In conclusion, the Triassic extinction was one of the biggest extinctions our Earth has ever seen, wiping out nearly 76% of marine and land species all across the world, changing the geography of the continents and leading the way for the dinosaurs to dominate the Earth for millions of years to come. And I believe that there is the most evidence, and it is most likely that a giant meteor impact caused the Triassic-Jurassic extinction.
Volcanic eruptions have been the causes of many natural disasters from the very beginning of the Earth. They have created mass devastation since the Earth's creation, and humans have yet to experience anything even close to the scale that has caused the extinction of life. There are several theories on what exactly caused the Triassic extinction. One of the most probable causes, and one of the causes I believe in, is a massive volcanic eruption. This volcanic event is probably the largest volcanic eruption in the history of the Earth. The volcanic eruption is a special type of volcano called flood basalts. After a series of explosions, the volcanoes release huge amounts of magma. Liquid rock comes pouring out from the mantle and it covers the continent, and at this time the continent was Pangaea. So you can see here's Pangaea, and this is the size of the flood basalt magma covered. It's 6,000 kilometers in diameter. So the magma, though it's slow moving, it eventually covered that entire ground, melting and burning everything in its path. These eruptions occurred over a period of 600,000 years with about 4 main eruption events. The first flood basalt, however, occurred possibly before the mass extinction took place, giving it probable cause for being the main reason. This is just according to National Geographic. Scientists were able to date that using zircons, which we learned about earlier, to date fossils and rocks. But it's not the initial eruption that starts the extinction. It seems that neither the violence of the eruption nor the acid rain or other short-term effects actually play any part in the mass extinction of all these species. The volcano releases an entire amount of magma, but can have long-term effects that affect the entire world, of releasing a variety of gases into the atmosphere. The two main gases are sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide. The large amounts of sulfur dioxide temporarily cause acid rain, and the amount of carbon dioxide, which doubled at this time, combined with the sulfur, makes the perfect mixture for greenhouse gases, or the global warming effect. This causes global temperature to rise and rapidly giving little time to react to that. And here's what happens. So with this volcano, you have magma, which is the flood basalt, which goes all over the ground. You have acid rain, ocean rising, temperature rising. Short term is a summer blackout. And you have CO2 and SO2 into the atmosphere, which is caused by the magma from the mantle coming up to the crust.
Like I said earlier, the Triassic extinction could have happened between multiple meteors hitting the Earth, and I believe that is more of a theory than just one meteor. There are 3 or 4 big meteors that were found that happened around 200 plus million years ago. The first one, like I said earlier, was the Kaukogen. The second one is the Rochechart crater. Happened roughly 203 million years ago, and that was up to 30 kilometers wide. And it may have been part of the hypothetical multiple impact event, which also formed the Manicouagan crater, like I mentioned earlier. There's also the St. Martin crater in Manitoba. This one is 40 kilometers wide and was estimated to be about 220 million years ago. The Abalon crater in Ukraine, that was 20 kilometers wide, roughly 180 million years ago. And lastly was the Red Ring crater in North Dakota. It was smaller, about 9 kilometers wide, around 200 million years ago. So if you look at all of these craters and look at a time frame, one was 200 million, one was 220 million years ago, 180 million years ago. They're all around roughly when this extinction started to happen. So if you put them all together, I believe that all these craters could have created this mass extinction.
I don't know. I think that volcanoes are really the cause of the Triassic extinction or the Jurassic extinction. Like I said, National Geographic was able to place, using zircons, was able to date one of the first volcanic eruptions that occurred, and that happened before the mass extinction event started, really started to get into full swing. And I mean, volcanoes do a lot of damage to the oceans as well. I don't know, what did the meteor do to the oceans?
Well, with the meteor, all like the 4 different meteors that are connected into this extinction, they would have created massive floods that went all across the world and across the land. And also with the meteor coming into the Earth's atmosphere, it also releases a lot of CO2, just like the volcano. And with 4 giant meteors coming in over 20, 30 million years, that can cause a lot of extra CO2 and a lot of flooding, a lot of global melting, and all that stuff. That just adds on to the extinction.
That's true. What about acid rain? Although it did say that a lot of the short-term effects didn't have to do with the mass extinction on a large scale, I definitely feel like the acid rain and the sun blacking out, played a big part in starting this, and then the warming of the Earth really happened very quickly, so species didn't have a chance to adapt.
Well, from my research, from what I've noticed about extinctions in general, is that they don't really happen immediately. So, with the one meteor is unlikely because it's not going to happen immediately. And, with the volcanic eruption, that's a kind of a one-time thing that, happens over probably a shorter period of time in
there were 4 of them.
Terms of things. Oh, there were 4.
There were 4 eruptions that happened, just like 4 meteors.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they do very similar things. And it was probably a combination of the 2, honestly. All these things happening at the wrong time. Pangea was also splitting apart at this time because that fault was that rift was right in the middle of Pangea. And sometimes I guess everything just goes wrong. Everything just goes wrong at the same time.
Like I said earlier, mass extinctions usually aren't a immediate process. There are different outside things acting on it that can cause it, such as my 4 meteors that impacted the Earth and helped cause this extinction. and also with a global rise in temperatures and other things.
The volcano also did something similar with the rise in global temperatures, rising sea levels. So all of these things kind of work together to create just the wrong conditions with all the gases in the air and all the flooding. The water even turned really acidic as well from all the CO2. And it could have been a combination of all the things.
Yeah. So in conclusion, we have come to the conclusion that that both the meteor and the volcanic eruptions helped cause this mass extinction altogether.